Welcome to Elliott's PT podcast. I'm here to help you find your balance and live your best life guilt-free. I don't believe there is a one-size-fits-all approach for health and fitness. We're all different and we need to find out what works for us. I'm passionate about helping people make realistic, long-term lifestyle changes that they will stick to and they will take with them forever. I don't believe in crazy diets or short-term fixes. We all need to live and find a perfect balance in diet and exercise that suits our individual needs. I want to help you find your exercise mojo, feel great and achieve wonderful things. Here is Elliott's PT podcast by Renae Elliott. Hello, and welcome back to Elliott's PT podcast. So today I want to talk about checking in with yourself. Are you somebody that regularly checks in with yourself, or you are somebody that is so busy that you can't even remember the last time you actually thought, am I okay? What do I actually need? And that was me for a very long time. And I am very aware of this now. And I do check in with myself regularly. And I think it's really, really important for mums to do some self-checking in with themselves. As I say, life as a mum can be exhausting. There's so many things going on, we have so many hats that we have to wear and so many other things we have to do. And it can be really, really exhausting. And, the thought of putting in, fitting in exercise classes, making sure that you're, eating better, preparing your food, doing meditations, taking a walk on the beach, all of that stuff sometimes seems so unrealistic, and you just think that it's just something that's not possible for you. But taking the time out for yourself is really essential for you to be the best version of yourself for you and your children. I see lots of mums in my classes, or I speak to lots of mums, or I see them at school and those things. And so many mums say the same thing. And, they say they're too busy, that they can't fit anything in. They would like to, but they can't fit it in. And, it's a necessity to put yourself first. I have gone through phases in my life where you get, you think it's okay for a little bit. Oh, it's just this phase through the kids. They're going through this phase. I'll just put myself last, and I tend to do that quite a lot. That's my personality. But then you get to a point when you constantly do that, you get to a point where you're probably really unhappy, and it's because that you're not doing anything for yourself. And that's why it's important to have some self check-ins and to check in with yourself and make sure that you're keeping your cup full, and you're doing, you're doing things for yourself. And when you're doing that, you'll actually become a better mum. You'll be a better mum because you'll be happier, and you're also teaching your children to put themselves first too, so that they don't become, like I said, I see so many mums that then, their kids are grown up and they're like, oh, I can now do something, I can now put myself first, and it doesn't have to be that way at all. Taking time out for yourself is not only crucial for emotional and, physical well-being, but, it's really impossible to be that best version of yourself when you're not doing the things that you enjoy, or you're not putting yourself first. Like I said, I've had times in my life where I realized, and I had no one else to blame but myself. I realized I was just doing, and the more things, I don't know if you can relate to this, but the more things you kind of give to people, the more they keep taking. And, again, I have no one else to blame but myself, but I had to get myself in check and be like, this is not right. My cup is empty. I'm doing nothing for myself and I'm unhappy, which then makes me a cranky mum. It makes me not want to do things with my kids, and I'm checked out. I'm checked out from them anyway. So I'm trying to do everything for them, but I'm actually not present with them because I'm either unhappy, grumpy, tired, all of those things. So when you are putting yourself first and you're doing more self-care things, you are able to be more present with your children. You're able to be a better version of yourself and a better mum for them. And this is why it is so important. Like I said, I speak to lots of mums, and you have mums, they say, I can't believe I put this off for so long. I can't believe, I put off exercising or putting in that, and exercise obviously is something I'm very passionate about, but, putting that bit into your day. I had a mum just start the classes yesterday, and she said, her first thing was, oh, it's too hard. It's too hard to get the kids to, to kindy and school and then come there with a little baby, but then she said, what would I have done anyway? And now she's done something for herself. She's had that little bit of time for herself. She can then, get on with the rest of the day and be that bit happy because she had that little bit of time to herself. It's so, so important. I had another mum that had probably, inquired with me at least a year ago, if not longer, and she put off for so long because she felt she couldn't fit it in with her life. She felt she couldn't do it, and she finally started doing the classes, and now she says it's the best thing she ever did for herself. She can't believe she put it off for so long. Exercise has so many other benefits than the physical. And now that she's actually starting to do something better, she's doing something for herself, she feels better about everything. So it is so important. And life is hectic and there's so much that your family does need for you, and days can end up feeling really tedious and just like you're on you're just on a conveyor belt of managing kids, working the jobs that need to be done, and then all starts again the next day. And we move on with our day, and we get on, we might feel sleep deprived, and we feel like we're trying to meet the needs of everybody, and this all happens, and there's so much little time for yourself. And when you're doing this and you're making sure that you're spending time with the kids and they're doing an activity, and that you've got food ready for everybody else. I see so many mums have food ready for everybody else. They cook lunches for their husbands and their kids and their wives, and they cook all this food for everybody else, but they don't do it for themselves. Now, you are the powerhouse. Do it, prioritize yourself, and get your food, because do this for you. If you can do this for everybody else, you can do it for you. In the same time, it's not that hard. And when we are filling everybody else's cup except for our own, you just end up feeling more bogged down, and you're not helping yourself. You're really not helping yourself. You're trying to help your kids and everything else, but you need to help yourself first. What do they say when on an airplane? They say you need to put your mask on yourself first, because when you have that mask on yourself first, you can then be supportive to everybody else. And you need to do this in your own life. We disregard the importance of our own self-care. We end up you end up with doing exactly the opposite of what you need or what you intended to do. And rather than being, that the vibrant, happy and capable wife and mother that you want to be, you probably end up feeling exhausted and grumpy and a real shadow of your true self. And life does not have to be this way. And why do we let it happen? Why do we let it happen? Is it we sometimes see on social media that we have to be a certain way, and we see these people living these certain lives, and we think, oh, I can't do that, but really, let's be honest, there's real life and social media, and they are two very, very different things. And what you're seeing on social media is only a very small snippet of somebody's day. And as a mum, I think we all tend to find it really hard to admit when things get tough. We feel like we have this persona to show, and that it's all okay. And even now, as if you compare this era compared to 30 or 40 or 50, 60 years ago, the mum used to stay at home. Well, now most mums don't do that. They feel like they have to, they're working and they're doing other things as well. So, we have got so much more on our plate, but people still feel that they have to, that it's really hard to admit that things are getting tough. And we have this kind of perfectionist attitude and this badge of honor of, there's like we hold this badge of honor by saying we can cope with it all, when really inside you're not. And, like, who's the one that's suffering the most? It's you. It's you. So, let's just start putting yourself first. And if we, can't be perfect, then obviously we think it's a failure. And we put these really extreme expectations on ourselves. And I really think that social media doesn't help, that we think we have to, we're living this certain way and that everything has to be perfect, or and you're pushing yourself further and further behind, and it's just not, it's not reality. And I think when you start putting yourself first, and I want to be there for my children, I want to be the best version of myself, but in order for me to be the best version for my children, to be the best version of me for my husband, to be the best version of me for in my work, and to be the best version of me for my family, I need to put myself first, and I need to do the things that make me happy. And it's really time to, if you are somebody that has not been putting yourself first, it is really time for a change. We need to learn to really value yourself as much as you value your family. And, we have to accept that your needs are just as equally important as what your whole families are, and stop putting yourself last. And you can, look and design a more balanced life for yourself, where the needs of you are met as well as your family. And this is meaning making like intentional choices as to what you do with your life, because you need to run the show. So you need to make these choices and have a plan and say, this is what I need to do. And yes, that can be easier said than done, but it is definitely not impossible. And we all have the same amount of time in a day, and you choose how you spend it. So, if you are not exercising and you feel like you can't exercise on your own, then make attending a gym or a class or getting a personal trainer, make that a priority. And work out what has to work for you. So if you go, okay, I'm not going to exercise at home, I need to go somewhere. Right, I need to go to a class. Right, there's classes at 5 o'clock in the morning. My husband's still home at that time. I can make that work. Okay, no, there's classes at this time. I don't work on these days, and I can bring my children to them. Okay, so that's exactly what I have. I have classes that all my classes you can bring kids to. All my classes you can do at home via Zoom, all my classes that you can attend in person as well. So, so you can be like, okay, I'm going to make the mornings. I'm going to make the 5 a.m. sessions because I know my partner is still home, and I'm going to make sure that I get up and do that. Okay, or, you can go, okay, I have these days off of work, and I can't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning because maybe your partner is a fly in, fly out. You go, okay, I'm going to attend the 9 o'clock sessions, and I'm going to bring my little baby with me. I love when people bring their kids, because that, you're sending a message to them. You're showing your kids that, they do need to put themselves first. You're showing them that mum's working out, and, like the amount of kids that follow on their mum's footsteps is just amazing. They see them, squat, there's a girl that comes to the class, and she brings her little boy. Every day she comes to all the morning sessions, and she brings him with her, and she's done it since he was little, and he knows no different. She gets him up. She has to deal with the mums when she goes to daycare. She feels like sometimes drops him off at daycare. They criticize her because he's already been up early, but she puts herself first, and she does this because she knows how important it is for her, and how much better her day runs, how much better she is for her family when she's doing this. And I think a common fear for people is they feel that their family will be missing out if you're taking time out for yourself. If you're feeling guilty for doing something for yourself, then and you feel like your family will suffer. Well, do not think that they're going to suffer if you're actually not putting yourself first, because they'll suffer in other ways. They will suffer in in that you're not actually present, that you're actually quite grumpy, that you're not being the best version of yourself, because you've done nothing for you. And if you plan stuff out, you can fit time in for them, and it be really good quality time, and you can fit time in for yourself too. It's all a balance, and there is enough hours in the day to get all that stuff done. And I make my kids part of my self-care. I also prioritize doing things when I know that so part of my self-care routine is meditating. I love guided meditations, but I love doing them in the bath. So I go for a bath, I listen to the meditation while I'm in the bath, and I find it relaxing. But I might have done some activities with my kids before. I might have done something else. So then might need some chill out time. So I don't feel guilty for letting them watch TV. I don't feel guilty for letting them watch their iPads or any of those things. So I'll say to them, Mum's going for a bath. I'm going to listen to meditation. I just need some time for myself. And they are fine. Yes, my kids are older. I've got a 4 and an 8-year-old. So, they can quite sit on their own. But I also do it when my husband's home. So I'll say, I pick a time during the day, maybe in the morning, and I'll know that maybe I have a gap between classes or something. And I'll say to Lee, I'm just going to do a meditation. And he knows that that's important for me. And, since when I've started really prioritizing doing that, it's changed my life. Because I feel like I'm so much calmer. I can handle things so much better because I'm putting in that meditation. And it is a priority for me now, as I've spoke about it before. When my husband had COVID at the start of the year, when that happened, and I was like, right, I need to make sure I'm looking after myself, and because I need to be strong for everybody here. And I didn't know if I was going to get sick too. And I thought, if I'm going to get it, then I need to still, hold it together for the whole family. And I meditate every day. Then when I stopped meditating, when we got out of lockdown and everything, I went back to normal, and the meditating went out the window, and I realized how much it benefited me. So since then, I've made sure I've made it a priority every day. Okay, so you wanted to know, where do you begin? Now that we're thinking, okay, I am not doing anything for myself, how are you going to start beginning with this? So it can be really difficult. So start with little steps, because we're in this habit and we've done this for so long of not putting ourselves first. It is it is hard to start doing this without feeling guilty. But I think you need to remind yourself all the time that putting yourself first is not a bad thing. Putting yourself first is actually looking after your family. You are the powerhouse of the family, so you need to be good and strong in order to keep everybody else okay. So start small. So give yourself, start doing something small. Give yourself half an hour each day, or do something that makes you feel good. So just something small. It could even be 15 minutes, and, then work on it from there. And, take 10 minutes to go and sit outside, and have a cup of tea and sit in the sun, or go for a quick 10-minute walk. Last night my husband got home late for work. It was, I'd had a really stressful day with the kids. And when he got home, and I said to him, I hadn't made any dinner. The kids had dinner, but I hadn't made dinner for us. But I had a headache, and I just said to him, I need to take the dog for a walk. And I needed to remove myself from the situation and have that walk for myself, because I just needed the time to clear my head. Cooper he'd had a really emotional afternoon, and we went out skateboarding, and he really lost it while we were skateboarding. And it was everything was just obviously too much for him. But, my head was like pounding. And I just said, I need to go for a walk. And my husband was like, okay, so that's fine. So I didn't bother that I hadn't made dinner or anything else. I knew I needed to do that for myself. I don't feel guilty for it, because that made me better. That made me, when I came home, I was feeling better. My head wasn't pounding as much, because I just had that time away. So sometimes that little bit of time away can actually make you better for everybody. The other tip for starting to begin is take an all-rounded view. So, self-care involves all elements of your life. So, look at the things that you can control. Look at the things that really are going to work for you. So obviously food, your food, exercise, everything, all in general, all help. So you take this all-rounded view. What else can you start to really do? Sleep is massive. Making sure that you get a good amount of sleep, and that is part of self-care. So whether that means that you don't stay up as late. I know lots of mums struggle with, they would just get the kids in bed, and this is my only time to myself. But for that extra 1 or 2 hours that you stay awake at night, and then you're having less sleep. The effects of less sleep makes you cranky during the day. You feel, you just feel crappy. And so for me, it's worth it to get the extra sleep. For me, I might get a little bit less time during my day, but less time at night on my own, but I feel so much better during the day. For those extra 1 or 2 hours at night, I have 16 hours of feeling amazing. It is worth it to me. So, sleep. And when we are sleep deprived, we are, crankier. We are, make poorer choices with food. We feel crappy, and sleep is when you recover. So sleep is massive for everything. So, prioritize your sleep. And I understand with babies, they're awake, and sometimes but do what's in your control. Maybe go to bed a little bit earlier. Think about what makes you sleep better. In putting yourself first, obviously exercise is massive, and it really helps you, your physical and your emotional well-being. But it's exercise shouldn't be torture. You can really find an exercise that you enjoy. And as a mum, for me, exercise and doing a group class was really the thing that saved me. Having that time of people that I could talk to, having that interaction, and being with them around people that were similar to me, had kids similar ages. I could get different tips with them, but I also would know that I'm not alone, that having these feelings of overwhelm, or feeling of, didn't know how to cope, or feeling, that they had those same feelings too. So it's really, especially as a new mum, it was something that it saved me so much. And running for me is a de-stressor. So running for me is something that really does help me de-stressing. The other tip is for starting to put in more self-care is really nourish yourself. Look at your food, and the food that you're eating. And like I said, I see so many mums under eating and not eating properly, and that's why you're feeling like, you'll be really surprised how much people are under eating, and how then you feel, I get mums saying they feel so tired, they feel flat, they're lacking energy, they feel crappy, sluggish, all of those things. And a lot of that's to do with your food. And, you prepare food for everybody else, and you can make food for your children too. You can make food for your children, but you can make food for yourself too. So, really, really think about how you're nourishing yourself, and, get that nice balance of food that's going to fuel you. And there's so many options of food that can work for you, and food that you can fit in with your lifestyle and fit in with little time. So trust me. And it's really important to stay connected with your friends. So make sure you're putting in things that you're catching with friends on the phone, or going out with, including them in, but in part of your self-care is staying connected with people, and having those, still keeping up with those friendships. Because when we feel alone, and we're too busy, and we're taking care of our family, we're not filling our cup in any way. And when it makes you feel disconnected from the outside world, it's really time to make sure that you are reconnecting with friends and doing something for yourself. Sometimes just going for a drink with a friend and having some nice belly laughs. We went out for drag queen bingo a couple of months ago, and it was such a laugh. And it's really nice to put those types of things into your life. I really like journaling. It is really good when we've got lots of stuff in our head. When it's staying in our brain, it's giving it lots of power, and we don't want to give it as much power. So sometimes when you get things out of your head, and you maybe reflect on it and read it out, you realize that things are not as bad as what you think they are. So when you're feeling maybe stressed or overwhelmed, or it's really good to get it out, and don't keep it in your head. And it's really interesting to write things out. Just write whatever comes to you. I like the practice of gratitude too. And actually really realizing what I'm grateful for, because we do tend to take some things for granted. But when you can do that, and you're taking that moment to reflect, you are we're just not letting things build up, because as mums, they tend to really build up. So they are just some things that you can do, but there's lots of self. I love, like I said, I prioritize. I love having a bath and meditating, walking, running. Exercise is a massive priority for me, and getting my food right is a priority to me in order for self-care and self-check-in. So it's really important to check in. I check in on with myself. How am I feeling? What am I wanting? What am I really wanting to achieve? And am I working towards that? What are the things that I need to do for myself? What are the things that I want to make me feel good? So is it you used to always read books and you don't read books anymore? Is it you used to work and now you're not working in that same capacity? Well, maybe put work in that way. I know lots of people criticized me for continuing to work while I had children, when I had my babies, but working for me was a massive part of me keeping myself sane. So me working as a personal trainer and running my classes and all that other stuff it kept me really sane while I had children, when I had little babies, and it was that little part that was still something for myself. So it was actually a priority for me. And as much as people criticized me for doing it, I knew that it was really important to me, so I didn't let it bother me. I knew it was really important to me, and it really has helped keep me very level-headed and sane during the craziness of having little babies. So, if you feel guilty for spending time to yourself, really remind yourself that you can serve your family, the most when you can do the best for them when you are refreshed and being the best version of yourself. So you want to treat yourself with the same compassion that you treat others, and ignoring any of those critical voices in your head that are telling you that you shouldn't be doing this or that you should be doing otherwise. And, you want to be the shining example for your kids. You want your kids to recognize the importance of their own self-care and to start putting things in for themselves as they grow up, so they can be be happier, individuals, and show them how to look after themselves, and let them watch and admire you as you flourish in your life as you want them to do. And that's why I love my kids seeing me work out. They know how important it is. And that's why my kids, they know how important it is, and they know it is a priority for me. And your kids learn for you, and they copy what you do, and you can become their positive role model, teaching them self-respect and how to be the best possible version of themselves. If you have been neglecting yourself lately, I hope that this podcast is something that can make you check in with yourself and see what you really need to do to keep your cup full and to keep you happy. And if you do think that this would help anyone, please make sure that you share it. If you know a mama out there that needs to put in some self-care for herself, flick this podcast onto her and remind her that it's okay to put yourself first and do something for you. Until we speak next time, I'll speak to you soon. Okay, bye. Thanks for listening to the Elliott's PT podcast. I hope you have been able to find this information of use to you. If you know someone who might enjoy this podcast, please share it with them. And ensure that you subscribe so you can be the first to know when new podcasts are released. If you have the time to leave a 5-star review, that would be amazing, and it would be greatly appreciated. If you do so, please screenshot and share onto any of our socials and tag us. Then email the screenshot to hello@elliotspt.com, and we will send you a free gift to your inbox. Thanks so much. Have an amazing day. Speak soon.